Hey, friends. Thank you for joining me on this Facebook video. Um, a lot of you have seen me in the past couple of weeks, and I have been talking nonstop about one particular thing. And I know a lot of you have questions or you'd like a little bit more information. So I'm just going to give you a little brief snippet about what I've been spending the last couple of months doing. And then hopefully we're going to be in this project together, and I can answer a lot of your more questions as we move through this process. But I think you're going to be excited to participate, at least most of you that are in my friends group, and that you're on my Facebook friends with me. I think you're going to be very interested in what I've been doing for the last couple of months. So you might have seen a page that we created called Justice for Vivian, Bring Vivian Home. And you're like, what? What is this Justice for Vivian, Bring Vivian Home page? And I can tell you that this has been one of the most fulfilling things that I have done in the last couple of years, I would say. I love to help with legislation. I love to be at the Capitol. I love to be part of that process. But when it comes right down to it, the reason why we pass laws is for you and I. It's for the people. And the last couple of months have given me an opportunity, and my family an opportunity to help a family. And we're very, very excited about this family. And we hope you will be too, and excited about helping them as well. So unfortunately, this family's gone through a great struggle. And 5 months ago, their child was removed by DHS and placed with a relative. Fortunately, this relative is a close family member, and they've had full access to this child. Okay, so that's the good news. Unfortunately for the child, Vivian, it's been really traumatic. And I don't know if you remember being 2 or 2.5 years old, but at 2 or 2.5 years old, we don't understand a whole lot. And so this little girl has been removed from her parents for 5 months. She's seen them every day because they had, again, the courts gave them full access, which is, they appreciate it for sure. And so they've been over at the aunt and uncle's house where this child is right now. They've been doing her treatments. They're over there often. And it's very confusing to Vivian to not be able to go home when her little 5-year-old brother goes home with mom, so mom can feed the dogs and clean the house and do whatever moms need to do to take care of their, home. She doesn't understand. When dad leaves and he goes to the store and she can't go out with dad, she doesn't understand. And so this has created a great deal of emotional struggle for Vivian, some of which we may not see for 5 or 10 or 15 years, because this happens, right? This feeling of abandonment and confusion and vulnerability that this child is seeing because her core little family, mom, dad, 5-year-old brother, and her, and she has older siblings that this family has raised. They're in their late teens and 20s. But, this core family is not together in the same way anymore. And it's very confusing. And she asked to go home a lot. And, anyway, you get it. You understand. I don't have to go into that, right? All of my friends are very emotionally smart, and you understand what happens when this happens, right? So this child was placed with relatives. Vivian has cystic fibrosis, like I said, and so she needs a lot of care. And the parents have been doing that at the aunt and uncle's house at the same time as they're also doing their jobs and doing, all of the other things. So this is definitely an extra struggle for them, having their child not in home that they can take care of. So why was Vivian removed from the home? And that's a whole big issue. But let's just say that out of the 5 medical professionals that take care of Vivian, including chiropractors and things like that, other professional medical people, 1 out of the 5 has reported this family 4 times now. 3 times, DHS came in and they did investigation and they looked at all the evidence and they said, this doesn't look right to me. You showed me evidence here and they're saying this, but you showed me this. I have the factual evidence here. We're just going to drop this. But this fourth time, there was a little bit of lag between them. And the parents, in the meantime, had to fight to get appointments with this medical provider. They had to fight to get prescriptions filled with this medical provider. They had to fight to get Vivian in the hospital. This medical provider would not admit Vivian into the hospital when the parents really thought she needed to be in the hospital. So they ended up taking her home, and they brought her back a month later, if I got all of my facts right, and got a different person to admit Vivian to the hospital. She really did need to be in the hospital. And so during this hospital stay, this provider and the parents had a disagreement. They got reported again a fourth time to DHS, and DHS chose to take the child and remove her rather than doing the same kind of thing that they had done in the past, which is investigate, get the facts, and decide if this was truly the case or not, right? So now Vivian is gone. It's 5 months later. These parents have had to hire an attorney because they got, court-appointed attorneys. The mom and the dad both had to get an attorney, but the first attorney was fighting against them. The second court-appointed attorney, withdrew himself the day of the hearing, leaving the mom to testify to be her own lawyer, right? And, you think, oh, so much struggle. And yet it was the exact right thing that needed to happen, because a lot came out with the mom knowing the case as well as she does, being able to question the DHS agent. And the mom is very smart. She's been studying the law to the best of her ability, the Iowa Code, and was able to stand up for herself at least sufficiently for that day that we had the hearing, right? She did a good job, even not knowing the terms in court and all that kind of stuff. Can you imagine just being thrust in front of a judge and saying, okay, I'm the attorney for the day, right? That takes a great deal of confidence and desperation, right? Because this mom is in a place and the dad are in places now where they're desperate for help. So I did not help them right away, to my chagrin, because I thought they were in contact with other people and surely somebody else is going to help them. And this is not my jam. I'm not super knowledgeable about DHS. But during this whole 5 month period of time, Vivian has also not been getting the extra treatment. She's been doing the treatments that the provider has asked her to do, but she's not getting the extra treatments like chiropractic and taking Vivian to the salt room and things like that, because the parents didn't have access to do that. They had to have someone go with them, and DHS didn't have or wouldn't put somebody on the case with them that would help them get Vivian where she needed to go. And these are vital therapies, like adjunct therapies to Vivian's care, that the parents feel really help her breathing, which is a huge issue, of course, with cystic fibrosis, right? So Vivian hasn't been able to do this, but in the last hearing with mom representing herself, the judge at the end of the hearing did allow for the parents to have access to take Vivian to these adjunct therapies, which is amazing. One of the medical providers sees Vivian, said, really believes that this is medically necessary for Vivian. So even though we call it an adjunct therapy, one of the providers really does believe these are super important for Vivian's health. And considering that this is about a medical provider accusing parents of not doing what they need to do to take care of the child's health, that's a huge thing, right? If our system is also not allowing the child to be healthy and doing the things that the providers are saying. So I'm just saying, this has been super hard for everybody. As you know, if you've been in one of these situations, or you have a family or friend who's been in one of these situations, it is extremely difficult. And for this 2-year-old, she hasn't been able to go home, play with her dogs, be in her bed, be with her family together as a little family unit. And this is very stressful. And stress creates high cortisol, and high cortisol creates inflammation in the body. And cystic fibrosis patients do much worse when there's extra inflammation, right? And so inflammation makes everything worse in the body. So this is also stressing out Vivian's health. I don't want to go too long because I was going to put a timer on myself and I did not. So here I am trying to make sure I keep this short, but let you know that there are cases like this that are profoundly important that we dig into, because if there's things that we can do better to serve people better and to make sure that innocent families, I mean, anybody can accuse anybody of anything to DHS, right? And so I'm sure some of you that are listening have had these sessions, and then it's just been released. It's been dropped, right? Because it wasn't that big of a deal. Or somebody was reporting you out of anger or jealousy or, revenge or whatever. That happens a lot, unfortunately. So if we can make the system better and make sure that our parents have the rights to defend themselves, and that we are looking at all of the evidence and not just part of the evidence, and that we're listening to all the medical providers and not just one medical provider, this would be very, very helpful. So hopefully moving forward, we're actually going to be able to use this as a pivotal case to make some changes to our system that are going to be helpful for both DHS, because their time is going to be better spent in the cases that really need their attention, and for the families that hopefully those families that it's the issues that are being reported are just allegations and they're easily dismissed, that we can easily dismiss these so that we don't spend our tax dollars waste on these cases when we really need our focus over here. And more on that later, because I'm learning a lot. But so we definitely don't want to throw anybody under the bus on this video, but what I want to do in this video is let you know that I have spent hours and hours, hundreds probably of hours, going through paperwork, video footage, audio footage. This family has documented everything, and to their credit. And so if you have a concern, or you have a medical provider that is maybe you have an antithetical relationship with, or there's maybe some disagreements about things with, I really encourage you to document everything, because that's really important to be able to prove our case. When you actually are doing the things that you need to be doing, it's very important to have that documentation. So this family has done that. I am confident that they are doing a phenomenal job of taking care of this child, as well as their 5-year-old, as well as their 4 grown children that they have also taken care of. So I'm asking for your help today, because it takes money to fight in court. And most of the time, a lot of the cases that go through really quickly are the cases where someone just has a court-appointed attorney, and the court-appointed attorneys are overwhelmed. Honestly, they really are. And I've talked to some of the contract attorneys. I'm getting some data from various contract attorneys about how the court system is working right now, and they're overwhelmed. They don't even have time to answer questions sometimes. And that's not their fault. It's just what's happening with our system right now. So they did hire an attorney for the dad. So the mom and dad had to have a separate attorney, and they spent $18,000 so far, and just got their first hearing last week. $18,000, and your voice has not been heard yet. That's a little bit concerning. So this last hearing will probably cost somewhere around $5,000. And so I asked this family if they would be willing to set up a Give, Send, Go account. And they did not want to, right? Nobody likes to ask for help. And, we all want to earn. I mean, that's part of our human dignity, right? Is we want to earn our way, and we feel better about ourselves when we earn our way. And I have to say to them and to you that this has to be a community thing. In order to get the changes that you and I both know need to happen, and probably DHS knows needs to happen too, rightly so, whether it's, funding in the right areas or making sure that, we have the proper procedures in place, whatever it is. This has to be a community thing. This family cannot fight by themselves. And so I feel like those that are on the underprivileged side, or on a socioeconomic scale, that they can't just have $25,000 right there and plop it down for a lawyer and say, file these motions and do this and do that. Most of those people that can do that, their cases are probably dropped pretty quickly. Those that can't may have their children removed from them and their parental rights terminated sometimes. and sometimes just have to fight for a long time to get their children back, which is more stress and trauma on the children and more stress and trauma on the family. So I'm asking you to do one of three things. One, if you can, if it's $5, $10, $25, $50, or if you're really blessed and you can donate more than that and you feel called and led to do that, then please go to givesendgo.com/Vivian and give whatever you can. If it's a cup of coffee, that's fine. Every little bit is going to help this family. Number two, pray. And if you're not somebody that has a faith in the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, then meditate or send positive energy, whatever it is that you feel comfortable doing. But please pray for this family, because prayers change things. And that's a whole nother Facebook Live. But prayers change things. And we have had prayer cover through this and through this last hearing. And it showed. We have exactly the person that the judge that we're supposed to have. The people showed up that were supposed to show up. Those removed themselves that needed to be removed. Things opened up. We met people. It's just been really amazing. We've gotten a chance to talk with, of course, legislators, because, I'm there a lot in years past. But we've also gotten to speak with people in the executive branch, and we're going to be speaking with some people in the judicial branch. And this is going to be big, but we need your help to make that happen. This family needs your help to make that happen. The lawyer needs to be paid on a timely manner, or he can withdraw himself from the case. And this last hearing is probably $5,000. This next hearing on the 13th of February is going to be another $5,000. So immediately, my goal for them to help them is to raise $10,000 for them. And I know that sounds like a big amount, but with all of us pitching in just a little bit, I think it's doable. My ultimate goal, if we can do it, is to raise $20,000 for them, so that they will have, number one, more money to proceed if we have to proceed. And number two, that the legal fees that they've already had can be covered, because this family didn't have $18,000 to plop down. They sold family items, inherited items that they were never planning on selling. They've worked really, really hard. They've borrowed money that they will have to be paying back to make this happen, to pay this lawyer. And one of the cousins of Vivian, sweet Rihanna, did a egg roll fundraiser. They made 300 and something egg rolls and sold 12 egg rolls for $10 to help pay for these legal fees. So this is not a family that's asking for a handout. They're a family that I said, please set up a Give, Send, Go, so that we can make sure that all of our friends who are on the same page, and you all know who you are, right? Because we've been on the same page for many, many years, can help and contribute. And I have some of the most generous friends on the planet. I have some of the most generous family on the planet. And those of you that I haven't met yet, we attract generous people. And I know that if you have more questions about this and you want to call me personally, or you want to message me, I am happy to talk to you about this case, because I am that confident that Vivian needs to come home as soon as possible, both as a matter of justice and as a matter of physical and mental and emotional health for Vivian and for the family. But this little girl is being put through, should not happen to any 2.5-year-old little girl who is rightly being taken care of. Okay. And even though they did their best and they placed her with another family, this is a lot of trauma for this little girl. And as you know, I work with emotions and I'm an emotion code practitioner. And so it's, I see it and I see what it turns into. So we're going to be working with Vivian, of course, but I think the most important, and the family, but the most important thing is to support them. So if you can donate anything, that's number one. Pray is number two. And the third thing is, if you can show up at the juvenile center on February 13th. It's the day before Valentine's Day. It's at 1:30. We'd love for everybody to come at 1. And if you go to the Justice for Vivian, Bring Vivian Home page, you will see an event, and you can go to that event, and we'll post a few things about like some court etiquette and things like that right before right before we go to court, so you can be notified of everything that's happening. And I just want to say I appreciate you all. Thank you for watching this. I'm not sure how long I went, and there's so much more I could say in this case, but let me just say this: parents have been fighting since Vivian was born for the best care for Vivian. They love their daughter. They're doing everything they're being asked to do, have done everything they've been asked to do, and more for this child. All of the adjunct therapies like the salt room, etc., which Vivian wasn't able to go to for 5 months. And now in this last court proceeding, the parents can take her to the salt room now, and to the chiropractor, and to these adjunct therapies that they like to additionally add into her therapies and her cares. There is no cure for cystic fibrosis. It is a lifelong disease at the moment, right? Cancel clear that we find a cure. But right now it's a lifelong thing. So all the parents can do is deal with these symptoms and keep Vivian's lungs as healthy as they can for as long as they can. And this little girl is a beautiful little Spitfire. She is adorable, as is her older brother, Pi. So that you all know, I have visited with the family, I have visited with the extended family, and I've read every document and watched hundreds of hours and listened to hundreds of hours of documentation. And I believe that this family is a model family for what needs to happen for some model legislation. And they're willing to fight for you. They're willing to fight once they get Vivian home. They're willing to fight so that no other family has to go through this again, right? And they're willing to work together with the legislature, with DHS, with the executive branch, with the judicial branch, to make sure that we have a system that is true justice for everybody and protects our kids and also protects parental rights. And if that sounds good to you, I ask you to go to Forgive, Send, Go and give whatever you can. And I appreciate you listening to me. Thank you for being my friends. Thank you for trusting me. And thank you for everything that you all have sown into me over the years that helped me become who I am today so that I can take on this fight. Why am I doing this? Because it's your confidence and your faith in me over the years that has allowed me to have the confidence and faith that I can make a difference. But I can't do it on my own still. We have to all do it together. So let's go make a difference together. I love you all. Have a great, wonderful, beautiful day.